Unsurprisingly, Lamar and Josh Allen are both tier 1 of 5 tiers for quarterbacks, so there's no edge there for either team. And if you're unsure how I arrived to these tiers, I combined 4 advanced metrics into one holistic stat. So it's more than just an eyeball test or me saying, I don't really like this quarterback. I'm going to make him a tier 5 quarterback. I love both Allen and Lamar, so this game is going to be so hard on me because obviously one of them are going to have to go home. And I would just like it if they could both get a Super Bowl ring already. But alas, that's not going to be. The first advantage we have, though, is for the Ravens with Mark Andrews, who is 16th in yards per route run, which is exceptional for a tight end because this is for all players, wide receivers and tight ends, actually, not running backs. So, not all players. I lied to you. But with that said, 16 for a tight end is still incredible. He's going to go against Terrell Bernard, who is 79th in PFF coverage, and Matt Milano, who is 70th, roughly. He doesn't have a rank because he hasn't played enough, but if he had a rank based on his grade, that's where he would be. So Milano has actually really struggled this year, which is possibly just due to him getting acclimated again to the speed of the game and the new role he has in the defense. I believe he still is their green dot player. He might not be, but either way, it makes sense that he would struggle a little bit out of the gate. Linebacker is a position that usually takes a bit to get going, and in his case, he did miss substantial time. So Milano might be someone the Ravens actually attack, which is incredible because in years past, rather, it would have been a ridiculous statement to suggest that. But who knows? They might go after him. If not, they're definitely going to go after Bernard. So that's one thing that they'll be able to do at a minimum. The next matchup is one that's in the air, as Zay Flowers is possibly going to play. It seems like it's leaning towards no at this point because I heard someone say, I forget who it is now, but that there was a slim chance that he was going to play, and he hasn't practiced, and we're at Thursday now as of the time of this recording. So that's pretty worrisome. You would like to see your guy get some reps in if he's going to play, and he just really hasn't to this point. He is 20th, though, in yards per route run, so very, very good when healthy. He will be matched up against Christian Benford, who is 6th in PFF coverage grade, so an even more exceptional player, perhaps, than what Flowers is. Statistically, he is, at least. Benford plays 22% of his coverage snaps in man coverage, which is 4 percentage points lesser than the average percent. So he does specialize in zone, but when he is in man coverage, he's very good at it, as he earned a 76 PFF grade, which is great. I would say that's probably in the top 10 or so for all players, or all cornerbacks, rather. So he is really good in man and in zone. So on those money downs, like third and fourth down, where you might be in short yardage, like, 3 yards, and you need to allow nothing for the offense, Benford is going to stand a chance to contest Flowers if Flowers is playing, or to contest Bateman if Benford is going against Bateman. So that's a really good matchup to watch. Either case will be good. Flowers is a good deal better than Bateman, in my opinion, but Bateman is still a solid receiver in his own right. The next matchup is Isaiah Likely, who is 41st in yards per route run. So he is also a really good route running tight end. And he's going against, of course, Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano again. I'm not going to read you their stats. I think reading you them once was enough. Bernard, though, can definitely be attacked. Milano might be someone they want to attack. So that's another advantage for the Ravens, taking them to 2 advantages to none for the Bills. But in defense of the Bills, they have had just one opportunity to get a point because I don't give the defensive side of these points, meaning the defensive backs or the run defense chances to earn points, because stopping the offense from getting a point is the same as earning a point yourself, in my opinion. So with that said, the Ravens are up 2-0. And then we have a great rushing attack duel with the Ravens rushing offense being second in the league in rushing expected points added. And I think that's pretty apparent. It has been talked about a lot this year that Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry were the kings of rushing as they went to new teams. And they really were. The stats back that up. And a lot of it, too, is the teams have good run blocking offensive lines. It also doesn't hurt, in the case of Baltimore especially, that they have arguably the greatest rushing quarterback of all time. I would say Lamar is the best rushing quarterback of all time, but I would hear out discussion for other players as well. So that allows for a lot of things rushing wise. The Bills, though, they're not going to be taken lightly, as they are 5th in run defense expected points added. So though they have this reputation for being a bit squishy, they actually have a really good run defense. It's just they didn't show up in a big spot against the Ravens earlier in this year. I think it was week 4, maybe week 5. And that became our new representation for what the Bills are. It kind of actually just built upon an idea we had on them, because they've also had disappointing showings in years past as well. But the stats seem to suggest that they actually can stop the run. So I'm going to go with that more so than saying, hey, they didn't show up in, these big games, therefore they can't do it. I'm going to look at the broader sample size. So no one gets a point there because it's too tight to call. Defensively now, this is a chance to earn points on the defensive side, because you can wreck a game as a defensive lineman, pressure getter, and just completely mess up the offense entirely by yourself. So let's see if the Ravens get any points here. They have Nnamdi Madubuike, who is an excellent 22nd in pressures for all players. He's going against Osiris Torrance, who is 42nd for offensive guards in pass blocking according to PFF grades. And he's also going against, more than likely, as the double team player, Connor McGovern, who is 6th for centers in pass block grade. So he is really good as a pass protector. It's crazy. They went from, I think Josh Allen's gone from Eric Wood or Woods, whatever it was, to Mitch Morris to Connor McGovern. And they haven't really missed a beat in the entire process. Connor McGovern is really good. And he's going to help a lot against Madubuike. And he is the reason why there is no point going to Baltimore, because Torrance isn't a bad player, but if he were alone against Madubuike, there would be some issues, and McGovern is going to help minimize that. Next, we have Kyle Van Noy, who is 34th in pressures, versus Spencer Brown, who's 26th in offensive tackle pass blocking grade. So again, we're going to be at a standstill This just tells you how evenly matched up these teams are. There are so many dead even matchups, and it's so hard to give anybody any edges. And with that said, we're going to move now to Adafe Owe. Is he going to be able to get a point? I'm going to spoil it and say no, he's not. He's 41st in pressures, though. He's going against Dion Dawkins, who's 21st in PFF pass blocking for offensive tackles. So that's just another dead even matchup. Well, not dead even. It's advantageous to the Bills, but it's not really too reasonable in my head to give a point to the offensive tackle in the case. It's just going to be nullifying the pressure. It's not actually going to be bringing points to the team, if that makes sense. So Dawkins is better than Owe from a statistical standpoint, but I'm not going to give a point out for that because he's just going to be minimizing the impact of Owe. As we shift now to Buffalo's side of things, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you like and subscribe as both make massive differences. And with that out of the way, we have the Buffalo offense now, who have Khalil Shakir, who is 30th in yards per route run, and he's surprisingly to people from maybe as recently as a year ago, I would say, he's going to be matched up with Marlon Humphrey, who has been a stud outside corner in years past, but is playing a slot role this year. Humphrey is really excelling at it. He's 4th in PFF coverage grade. He also plays 35% of his coverage in man coverage, so 9 percentage points higher than average. And he has a good 74 grade, so he's not just playing a lot of man, he's playing well in the man coverage he does play. So that's really good stuff all around for Humphrey. He's good in coverage, he's good in man coverage. He's also really good as a run defender, which isn't the biggest deal for a corner, but it's nice to have. So again, no point. Just a reminder, the Ravens are up 2-0. Next for the Bills, we have Dalton Kincaid, who is 41st in yards per route run, going against Roquan Smith, who is 32nd in PFF coverage grade, and Malik Harrison, who is 81st in PFF coverage grade. So just dreadful. Roquan, though, I think is going to be able to minimize the issue of Harrison because Roquan will be taking the deeper zone assignments that are more skill intensive, and Harrison will be left with just playing the shallow zones that are a little bit easier to handle. Harrison could definitely be picked on, so you could give a point here, but with Roquan being so good, I think that I'm going to just leave it be and not give out a point because I think that Harrison, though he can be attacked, is not going to be in the most vulnerable of situations. Now, for Buffalo's rushing attack, we have another great matchup as Buffalo is 3rd in rushing expected points added, and get this, Baltimore is 3rd in run defense expected points added. So it is a fantastic deadlock, and I think if I had to lean either side, I would probably go with Baltimore. Michael Pierce is back, and he is a major contributor in the run defense game. And with that said, even if they don't have him, they have Travis. So that's something to build your defense around. And obviously Madubuike is a great player as well. So they have some things in their favor. And with that said, there's going to be no points because it's as even as it could be. Finally, we have an advantage, and it's with Greg Russo. I'm not sure if he prefers Gregory or Greg. I've heard it both ways, unsurprisingly, as both are the same name. He is, in my opinion, the best defensive player for the Bills. He is 12th in pressures amongst all players, and he's going against the 19th ranked in pass blocking offensive tackles, Ronnie Stanley. Stanley is not an easy matchup by any stretch, but I like Russo in this matchup because I think that Stanley is a little bit more of a finesse tackle. He's very refined, and I think Russo is a little bit more of a power and just long arms type of go getter at the edge position. So I think that he could be presenting some problems for Stanley. And also, just stat wise, he's statistically a little bit more impressive than Stanley is. So, with that said, the Bills are on the board. It took them until 16 and a half minutes into the video to get that point, but they got their point, and they're going to get another one shortly thereafter, too. So it's 2-1, and it's about to be 2-2 as the Bills get a point for having home field advantage. So that takes us to, as you could probably see coming, given just how even the matchups were to this point, it takes us to a dead even 2-2 point split. And this makes it so difficult because I wanted to fall back on, well, if Zay Flowers plays, I'll take the Ravens. And if Zay Flowers doesn't play, I'll take the Bills. But that's just a little bit wishy washy. I want it to be a little bit more out there with my takes. So I'm going to deliberate on this a little bit with you and tell you that for reference, though Lamar and Allen are both tier 1 quarterbacks, Lamar is the number 1 quarterback and Josh Allen is the number 4 quarterback. He's basically tied for second and fourth, but he's as low as fourth, obviously. So maybe you could say split it down the middle and say he's third. And with that said, Allen is right there with Lamar, but Lamar has a 102 score in my metric. I finally got the metric to be reasonable. It was like the scores were in the 400s a lot of the time, and it was just very messy to say, this guy's better than this guy. He's a 400, and this guy's a 327. It was weird, but 102 is a reasonable upper number, I feel. And Allen is a 98, with, of course, the higher number being better. So Lamar is just a little bit better, and that is compensated for by the fact that the Bills have home field advantage, where quarterbacks do better at home because they don't have the fans disrupting the calls at scrimmage. But with that said, I don't think it's compensated for enough. I definitely could go either way on the quarterback matchup, but I think Lamar is having a little bit of the better year. I also think he has roughly the same team, but a little bit better for what he wants to do with having Derrick Henry, who can just be a menace by himself. And with that said, I'm going to stick with my initial pick of the Ravens and choosing them again. So I'm going to go with the Ravens, but this game, it's like 51%, 49%. I'm not exaggerating. I think this game is as tight as any game has been this season, and that's evident by the spread. I think the Ravens are now 1-point favorites, which is as close as you're going to get. You can't get half points because there's going to be no ties in the playoffs. So, with that said, this game is as tight as it gets. The Bills started out, I think, as 1.5-point favorites. It's shifted to Baltimore. Maybe that's a sign that Flowers is going to play. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to evaluate what that means. But those are my thoughts on the game. Be sure to let me know what yours are in the comment section. And also be sure to like and subscribe for more football content.